What up, people? It's your boy Master Chudy out here with another comic review. So this one's for you, Polo Darkwater. I'm reviewing Flash, number 29. And first off, this was a pretty good follow up. Really goes into the depth of how Barry's feeling about his new abilities, the doubts that he's having right now. Um, so once again, Flash has been hitting it out of the park. Flash Rebirth has been one of the great titles I've read from DC, and they keep doing what they're doing. So the cover page, I guess I got the variant part of it, the alternative cover, but this looks pretty good. You see Negative Flash with the shrapnel parts in his body, which I think is pretty badass. You got this graphic look of a gritty Barry Allen, like he's ready to go into combat. So let's get started. So we have Barry basically, he's out. He's not in a good area right now. He just got blasted with shrapnel. Just managed to leave his battle with shrapnel. And we see that him basically saying that one of Captain Cold's ice gun will give me frostbite in seconds, and Captain Boomerang's stuff will make my stump dizzy. Glider's tendrils will squeeze you so tight you'll hear your bones crack. And then Reverse Flash uses his speed to fight dirty, and Grodd always hits the hardest. But no matter how much I was hurt, my super speed metabolism always helped me heal. So he's basically like, no matter how hard I've been beaten up, I always healed and got myself back into action. But then we see him in an ice bath, back in his apartment, not in the greatest shape. And he's saying that he pretty much took it for granted. And he's like, I should call Batman, see how he deals with a hard night. And he's like, but yeah, he has a butler to do that, and someone who helps him when he's hurt, someone when he messes up. So we get into Negative Part 2, which is the title. We have Joshua Williamson as the writer, Pop Mon and Christian Deuce as the artists, and Neil George and Evan Palencia did the Howard Porter and High Five did the variant cover, so got them to thank for it, basically. So he's basically remembering what happened in the last fight. Shrapnel killed those bikers that were those speed bikers, and he's like, "Shrapnel, you killed him." He's like, "Barely." But barely. But hey, without your help, I wouldn't have been able to find him and kill him. So it's like, you might as well be my accomplice. And he's like, it's really hurting them that he's like, if Barry hadn't had gone, full angry mode and chased them down, then Shrapnel might have lost them and they might have not died. So he feels like these deaths are on his hands as well. And then we see them about to engage in a fight, and Shrapnel's like, "Give me all you got, Flash," and he's like, "No." So this is a pretty nice shot. Like, Flash is in the air trying to fight, and we see like how everything's like his boots are now black and all the stuff is now black. The lightning is black, and he has this gray face. So you can really see that Negative Flash is something else. It's like, "Give me all you got, Flash." So Shrapnel fires his stuff, and Barry hits him with a lightning blast. And he's like, Shrapnel was right. So Shrapnel basically had his arm blown off, but he's still beating the crap out of Barry, just railing on him. And he's like, "The motorcycle gang died because of me. I rushed into things without thinking." It's like, and he's like, "I deserve this beating." So, and even Shrapnel's like, "You're not fighting back." So this is like Barry like saying, just hurt me because because I had a hand in killing these people. And Shrapnel's like, the boss would kill me if I killed you. It's like, but it'd be worth it. So he's still beating up Barry. Then apparently we see this explosion, and then we find out another thing that Barry could do that he didn't know he could do. It's like, "I didn't know I could do that." Shrapnel thought he was going to kill me, but with each punch, my destructive aura was building up until it exploded. In the past, I loved when I would discover a new talent with the Speed Force, but now it felt like a hollow lesson in victory. At least the blast was big enough to keep Shrapnel from reforming. So basically, the more as Barry hit this guy, energy would be storing in Shrapnel's body until it finally exploded. So that's an odd new power for the Negative Flash. So he basically, Shrapnel blew up in a couple of pieces, long enough for the cops to come in and collect all the pieces of Shrapnel before he reformed himself. and they kept it all in a magnetic field, and he felt that he got lucky, and he said others didn't. And so the cops are talking to him, like, damn, the bikers hit a few bank trucks this week, but they didn't deserve to get ripped apart like that. And the other cops is like, yeah, it could have been a lot worse if you hadn't stopped shrapnel Flash. And Flash is feeling very sad. He's like, it's like, I should have saved them. And then the cop is sympathizing with him, saying, I tell myself that every day, but it's part of the job. And he's like, right. And then you see Flash is just walking, and then even the cops are saying, is Flash walking? And then the other cops saying, yeah, that's weird, and he feels like his powers are a danger to the city. So he's still in his ice bath, and he's basically saying that ever since I got infected with the negative speed force, it takes a lot longer to heal. I need more time here before I can let anyone see me, and then the phone rings. So even his healing somehow has slowed, but his speed has evolved into something else, so it's weird. So we see that one of his co-workers, Kristen Kramer, is saying that, asking him where he is because he needs help at the lab. So he just puts the phone down, and he's still in the bathtub, just relaxing. And he's like, wait, Shrapnel said he had a boss, so it just came up to him during that whole time. So he goes back to the crime lab, and he's just checking out files. And he's like, all the rogues are in prison, so who could he be talking about? And he's like, there are no reports of organized crime, the city's been quiet, it's like no big gangs or anything, so he's wondering if there's a new crime boss, but he can't be certain because there's been no pop-up. And then his co-worker calls him Alan. And we see Kristen was like, where were you? It's like, I've been coming for you all day. The singer's been asking for help with the missing evidence, which was stated in the last issue, because he thinks there's a mole in the CCPD. And he's like, and Barry's trying to explain that he had things to do, and she's like, you always show up late. It's like, and she's asking if she's drunk, and he's like, no. It's like, no, I'm not. It's like, she's like, you've always been a bit weird, but lately, it's like, and she's like, no. And he's still saying that he's not drunk, which is funny. It's like, if things sees you like this, he'll take it out in the lab. It's like, come with me and I'll hide you into a silver rope. And he's still saying, I'm not drunk. But basically, she's saying that Burns and Morrow have their own ways of investigating the missing evidence, but you and I are going to research the evidence itself. Just try to make yourself look busy and give those files a read. So Barry's been looking through the files, and he keeps on going because he's still unsure of his speed power. So he's like, normally I would have speed read these, but if I use my new powers, I destroy all the files. And then Barry's like, he wants to take these files to his lab to study. He's like, I've gotten so accustomed to using my speed to solve my cases now that I can't use it. I wonder how useful I am to the crime lab. So he's like, I've always used my speed, I've always taken it for granted. But now that I have to watch how I use my speed, can I really, really be of any use to my job now? But she's like, we're not going to your lab. And he's asking where they're going. It's like, and she's basically saying, while you were out basically doing what you were doing, it's like, she's basically saying all the missing evidence, all the samples are biological, no guns, all the missing evidence were basically biological samples, no guns or bullet casings, and there are only 2 places of CCPD cold enough to preserve these kind of samples. Basically the morgue, and so they go to the morgue and they ask the guy who's named Ramsey, just another day in paradise, and he's doing autopsies on bodies, basically. So he's basically saying that, yeah, my job is not pleasant, but it's like, but I know at the end of the day, my job's gonna help someone find, and Barry says, justice, and he's like, yes, Mr. Allen, your nose. Yes, and so he basically knows something on Barry's nose, and Dark Knights. We basically see that Barry's nose is bleeding. It's like, and we see that he's saying, dang it, I haven't healed from Shrapnel's punches yet. So it really goes to show that his healing factor from the Speed Force has really diminished if he's still having these nosebleeds. So, his co-worker Kristen just basically says that, he falls a lot on the job, basically. So we see Kristen saying, anyway, my kit wasn't in your lab, my mistake. We'll get you back to your bodies, thanks, Ramsey. So Barry's like, what was that all about? It's like, I wanted to show you how, with a little distraction, it's super easy to get samples out of CCPD. And he's like, did you just steal something, Kristen? And then we just see the two other guys who they're working on the case with about the mole, basically saying like, hey, we were looking for you. And it's like, you guys want to compare notes in our lab? And Bear's like, your lab, which makes me think that they took his lab and made it their own, but I'm not sure. So they're at a pub, where everybody's just drinking, and we see that Barry's asking, I don't think a bar is a good place to discuss this, but the partners are basically like, it's a cop bar, Barry, everyone here is talking about a case. And her partner is like, listen to Burns. Burns' partner is like, listen to Burns, Alan. Sit, have a drink, for God's sake. Even you have to loosen up every once in a while. And then Barry's like, I don't drink. And this guy's like, a guy like you who doesn't drink always has other vices. And we just see Kristen say, stop busting Barry's balls, Morrow. So they're basically discussing the case. And Burns is basically saying that if Singh wants to watch cops, this is the place to do it. Someone will talk. I'm guessing this whole missing evidence thing will end up being something simple, a big old mix-up. And Barry's asking, why do you say that? And, she's basically saying that CCPD is the best police station in the world, and that's not really an opinion. She used to work in Gotham, and her partner there was on the take. She's basically, he thought he was good, that nobody would catch him. He was working with Two-Face, but I did the right thing and I turned him in. It was Gotham, so that got me a rep as a rat. But if someone at CCPD was dirty, I'd know. Personally, and they're suspecting that it might be Singh. They're suspecting it. Kristen denies it, saying that Singh, please, if you wanted us to come here and tell us Singh did all this to cover his own tracks, I'm going to skip it. And Barry's asking if she's okay. It's like, if I'm not on the clock, I'm not working. And she's like, the office gossips that Kramer's got a man she keeps locked away from the riffraff she works with. It's like, don't know how you manage to separate work and home, Kay. So, it's common cop talk. It's like, divide and conquer. Basically, try to be more on time, Alan, so everybody's still getting on Barry's lack of absence. So we see Morrow saying, so you're the golden boy, Barry. You're the golden boy, Alan. The best CSI in the Central City. Why didn't Singh go directly to Internal Affairs? He's a very by-the-book kind of guy, right? Something else is up. Something Singh isn't telling us. What's your honest read, Alan? So he's basically asking, why hasn't gone to Internal Affairs? Barry's basically saying Kristen's right. All the samples of the case had biological samples stolen, but it was more than that. They were bloody. And so Burns is asking, so they were violent. What does that mean? And Barry's like, no. All of the missing evidence had extensive blood work done. It's like, where did Singh get these files? And, Morrow's saying that he got it from the records back at the station. And Barry explains that it took us so long to notice because they were careful. They knew what they were looking for, and they must have had access to the files so they could search for what they needed. So then we see that it seems that Burns gets the picture, and she's basically saying, Barry, if what you're saying is true, we need to follow orders and take this to Singh. And basically, Barry's saying, if someone is basically stealing evidence from the lab, we can't wait for Singh. And basically the guy's saying, so you're going to crack the case by yourself. It's like, you go snooping around the records room, you might tip someone off that we're looking to things. And Barry's like, I go into the record room all the time, it'll just seem like a routine thing. Basically, he's going to check the logs and see who's been looking at the case files, and we'll talk to this. And he agreed that they'll talk to Singh tomorrow. So Barry's like, I understand Burns and Morrow's worries, but I need to do this myself. And so we see Barry go in, and he's like, hey, Danny, it's Barry from the crime lab. I was wondering if I could. Then he realizes there are no guards. He opens the door, and he sees that all the guards have been brutally beaten. So he realizes that they're still alive, and he's trying to figure out what did this. And then we see that somebody's trying to torch the evidence, all the records. And he wants to not use his powers. So he's like, if I use my powers, I might make things worse. But I don't need the powers. I'll get these people to save me. And then he starts to collapse because he still hasn't healed properly from his fight with Shrapnel. So he's about to pass out. So he's trying to struggle to push past the pain, but obviously he can't. And he succumbs while the whole records room is on fire. And then we see the next is a new breed of villain introducing blood work. So in this issue, we really get into Barry's, hesitancy now. How he doesn't want to hurt people, how he doesn't want to make things worse, so he's trying to not use his powers. At the same time, we also see that he's like, now that I don't have my powers to rely on because I want to be careful, I'm still as capable as I am without them. And we can see the difficulties it has. And we see that, it's not looking good for Barry now. So, it's interesting to see what's going to happen in the next issue. I'll give this issue an 8 out of 10. It's still very good. A little bit less action, but we see that he managed to stop Shrapnel at the end, in the beginning, and everything. So, good on him. So, hopefully, in my next one, I hope to review the latest issue of Teen Titans. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow. So, once again, I thank you guys for watching this review. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notifications to be notified of when I release these videos. Once again, I'd like to thank you because I do these videos for you, the people, so that I can give you my thoughts on comics and so that you may agree or disagree with them or agree to disagree. Once again, I thank you, and I will see y'all later.